You know, it's been great. It's been a little bit of, so here's the thing, and this will lead right into our talk. You know, as whenever you hear DaJuan say, here's the thing, I always start it. It's like, here's the thing. You know, we spent a lot of time in the beginning of this quarantine and the beginning of our shelter in place, really taking care of our mindset. And I really think that's very important. I really think that everybody should have, and I'm saying that in a very delicate way, because I don't like when people should on themselves, you know, but in a way that, like, just examining some of the old habits that they have been doing, some of the old beliefs that they've been holding on to before that, really just like examining all that time. I really took the first March, April, May, all of that time to really just examine it and to feel a lot of the stuff I was feeling. And when I talked to you the first time around, I said to a lot of people that if you don't feel like doing something, you know, if it's not born, like, don't do it. Don't do it. I still hold that that thought. I still think that we should not be, you know, if you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. But here's the, can we call it an addendum? Here's what we can call the add to that. What I've started to also realize for myself and for my clients and people I've been working with, a lot of people have been making this pandemic their crutch. And and so what that does is it allows you to let yourself off the hook for everything you wanted to get accomplished, that you were going to get done, right? It's like, no, but I'm in a pandemic, I can't do that. Well, here's the thing about this pandemic. You could be operating at 80%, which is amazing. And you're like, I'm killing it right now at 80%. But somebody out there is operating at 150%. Somebody out there is getting that agent, is getting that manager, is finishing up that script. And I'm not trying to guilt anybody into doing more or being more, but I'm also trying to let you know that, like, listen, take care of your psyche, which we should be doing at all times, right? At all times, not just over in a pandemic, you gotta take care of your psyche. You should be doing that at all times, but it should be like a little bit like that. I hear this is what they do in improv. They call it yes and.
You never take an improv class? I find that hard to believe.
Nah,
oh my God.
I need a script. Don't tell me I can't. I need a script. Tell me what to say, people. But it should be a yes and situation. And we want to get to a place where it can be. So when you ask me how I'm doing, I had been really taking care of my psyche about this new situation, this new place we're in. And what I just realized is, great, I took care of my psyche. Action is required to get to the next part of this. Action is required, because what we think, guys, is that mindset is action, right? Mindset is not the action, right? And mindset is so important. Listen, I've crowned myself the mindset guy. But what we're missing is, all of this is important. How do I get to June now? How do I get to July? You know, it's really hard for me, you know, I thought to sit here, because every time we think we're going to get out of this quarantine, we're going to get out of this shelter in place, they're like, lockdown again.
Again. It's like freaking Groundhog Day, you know?
It is. But what I realized, and how we get into goals and setting them for ourselves, is that that if we're only setting goals, guys, that are 2 weeks out, that are 3 weeks out, that are contingent on us getting out of quarantine, we're not setting big enough goals. That's just it. If your goal is just to get an agent and you already know how to go that path, go do it. Your goal isn't big enough. I'm just going to say it. Right? So if you would allow me, I'm just going to say this right up front, so we can get this out of the way. If you're here for if you're here for the quick, easy bullet, the tangible steps to take, you know, to getting your goals in place, here, I'm going to give it to you, because I don't know if I like to, I'm just going to give it to you. Number one, right? I'm going to give you, this is it. Do a D20, right? but follow me for a second, because I want to give you all of this stuff. I'm going to give you the magic pill. I'm going to give you all that stuff, whatever everybody wants, really quickly. I was like, I want the tangible steps to take. One, do a D20. A D20 is set a 20-minute timer, focus timer, where you turn off all your notifications. Anybody that works with me know I call it a D20, and there's a history behind that. But the turn off all of your phone notifications. Don't be on your web browser. Get a pen and paper, or get your iPad where you can turn off all the stuff. All that stuff. Set a 20-minute timer and really do a mind dump on the goals, the things that you want to get done. Really do it. Right? I'm just going to give this all to you really quick.
I would say let's give us the list, and then we'll dissect them, because I've got a lot of things I want to say about all this stuff. So I'm just trying to keep quiet, because you know me, I like to interrupt on accident.
I love it, because it's a conversation, because that's how we are.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, I should say, anybody who's watching this live, I'll probably say this over and over as we go through, as people come on and go off. As we're watching this isn't just a conversation between DaJuan and I, it's a conversation between all of us. So if you have thoughts, if you have questions, if you want to ask him something, if you want him to clarify, or if you want me to clarify, or whatever, or you just want to give him hearts because you love him so much because he's awesome, feel free to do that in the comment section. Great. So, like, don't think that we're just talking at you. Okay, keep going. So, one, do a D20, do a 20-minute timer, and do a mind dump about all your goals. Great.
Yeah, cool. 2 is, listen, everybody talks about this. I'm just giving you this. Follow. If you don't know what to do with your goals, do a SMART goal, right? SMART goals are really short and simple. SMART, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based goals. I'm just going to give you that. 3, find an accountability partner, or a way to keep yourself, maybe a coach, to keep you accountable. Those are the top ones. And then make sure that you are checking back in with your goals, right? So here's what I want to say about what I just did. I wanted to satiate everybody out there who's like, give me the magic key. Here is the step. This is what's going on. I want all that. So great. You got it. You got it. If you sign off, if you're like, DaJuan, I got it. I'm
Peace.
Peace out. I got the tangible steps here. Here's what I want to say. The thing about goals are, you can have the roadmap. You can have the 1 + 1 = 2 that worked for somebody else. But if your engine, if your mind is not in alignment, if it is not constantly checked, and if it is not constantly balanced, this will not matter. It just will not matter. So you already have the key. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about, like, if I go back to number 1, when we do a D20, what I really want you to do in that D20, what I really want you to do is really get specific on your vision. Really get specific on, for example, I set a goal here for the vision for my year, for this year, was I want to make 6 figures in just my business. And let me tell you, that's a lofty goal in the middle of a pandemic that I have not let go of, right? So how do we do that? It gives you such clarity on, I'm going to have to go through something that's uncomfortable. I'm going to have to wake up and push myself every single day, right?
Okay. So I get so excited, because it's like every time you come on and every time I talk to you, like when we're texting and stuff back and forth, I'm like, it's like going to school with DaJuan. It's so great. So the thing about you're saying about big goals that I personally believe is, when you do this brain dump and you start thinking of these visions, and the vision, like, the vision that you want to have, the big goals that you want to have, a lot of times, at least it's been for me, that it is not necessarily about the goal. It is about who you have to become in order to achieve that goal. I also have a 6-figure thing in mind that I also set for myself, and I was like, oh, this is a big, audacious goal. In order to achieve that, I have had to restructure how I think, restructure how my business runs. I'm still right in the process of doing that. I've had to, like, let go of this box that I didn't realize I had put myself in.
Yes.
So you will achieve the goal, because that is, like, absolutely going to happen. But what's more important is the person you become along the way.
And you also don't even know that you are becoming that person.
Right.
We are, and this is where it gets really wonderful. Hold on. I'm not going away. I'm just going to.
Yeah. He's doing something, so I'm going to riff. No, just kidding. Oh, there you are. Okay.
No, I'm back. I just wanted to turn. Because I can hear you better. Because I'm getting old. So we don't
Why
even
do you
know.
think I
We
use
don't
these?
even know.
Yeah.
That's why I used it, because I was like, oh, she can hear. I love that. Smart idea. So we don't even know that, you know, a lot of this stuff in the when we're setting our vision, and I was going to get to this place, there's a lot of things that we have to be courageous enough to re-examine, so that we need to let go. The things that we need to let go. Are you courageous enough to let go of the mindset that I can only get something done outside of a pandemic? Are you courageous enough to set a vision for yourself that says, I can only thrive in this career if somebody else tells me when to act, if I have an audition, if I know, like, all of that stuff is your vision, right? It's like, it's outside of that stuff. So it's like, what do I need to, I hate to use this word, but I'm going to do it anyway. What do I need to sacrifice? What do I need to give up so that I can get what I've been working so hard for?
Yeah. Let's give them a practical example. Because I find a lot of times when I'm talking, great. When I, so let's give a practical example. If somebody, you know, like just the typical actor during quarantine, you know, there haven't been a ton of auditions. There've been some like workshops and other things that have been available to them, and hopefully they're doing that. But like, what can you think of that would be either a mindset shift or like a way to think about their goals? Like in this, I'm not being very articulate. It's Wednesday. I don't know.
I get you on hump day. I'm into it.
That's right.
And I just want to be clear. What you're saying is, for such a bad word, I don't want to say layman terms, right? Like I what would tell me again, so I don't make sure I got it, because I don't want to like go to, you know me, I can go down a path and you're like, DaJuan, back up, too far.
So I guess what I want to give people who are watching, who, like, you know, I feel like the people who are watching this are coming to it going, I want inspiration on how to think bigger about my goals and how to start doing that. So if they've never done this process where they start thinking about their vision, sometimes I find it's hard. If you've only ever thought of your career as one way, it's difficult to see that it could be a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it could be a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
So
in your mind dump.
in your mind dump, like how to do that and shed the box that you put yourself in.
First of all, we got to get to like where your vision is. That's why I'm saying, like, in the first thing, we got to, first you're doing this mind dump of being very super specific of, great, what I want to do is I want to be on an hour-long drama that is in the supernatural realm, that I can play a vampire, that, you know what I mean? Like, we get really clear about that vision, right?
Yeah.
So that is the bigger overall goal, right? What I didn't say in that was, it can only happen one way. So once you get this vision and you're in this part right now where we're trying to figure this out, you're just like, what's another way this could happen? I wonder, how can I achieve this? What do I need to move forward here? If I didn't go down this road, I'm just going to play a game and try to figure out what are three other ways I can achieve this goal. Right? So
this is really good. Okay, so somebody could say, they could literally write down, I want to be a series regular on Star Trek.
Great.
And they can write down the way they think it should happen, or the way they've been told it can happen. And then for funsies, they can write down three other ways that they can imagine it happening. Right.
And so do you know why I do funsies?
Well, I know why I would do funsies, but tell them why you do funsies.
because there's no skin in the game with funsies.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just pure, unadulterated fun. Right? You're thinking, like, I'm just playing here. This doesn't have to happen. And as soon as our brain clicks it out of, this can only happen this way, it goes into this whole other realm of, like, I'm just going to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, at the end of that, you're like, well, why can't I go and meet the StarCraft, whatever? Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
We should have said vampires, and I would have been
sorry,
like,
sorry, yeah, okay, we can switch to the vampires, yeah. You know, why can't I meet the showrunner of the vampire show or whatever?
well, here,
Yeah.
I'm going to use me, for example, right? And so when I think about, like, I always wanted to be on Vampire Diaries. That would be my thing, right? And that's gone now. But when I did, that path was, okay, great. I got to, like, get in front of, I think it was Tesla and Co. You know what I mean? That was my goal. I got to get in front of those. But as I started to look, well, just for funsies, what else would I try to do with that? Great. I know who is a showrunner on that. That's Julie Peck, right? I know also that, like, where can I find Julie Peck? I know I can find her on Twitter. I wonder if I can start following her and if I can start an organic conversation with her every once in a while, right? Do you know what I mean? That's one way. I know that there might be other ways that I can, like, that's what funsies looks like. That's what a vision looks like when we start to really take it apart that way. So I want to go back to your question so people have a little bit of a tangible thing there. If you're sitting down and you've never thought about your career before in a different way, put down the vision, put down the thing, right? And I think you should do like a year to 3 years in advance, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and my advice there would be don't go too far out, only because as you grow as a person to start achieving these goals that you've got for the next year to 3 years, your goals might shift. And I know this to be true because it happened to me. I moved here because I had done everything I could do as an actor where I used to live. And I was like, cool, now it's time to go. And I moved here wanting to pursue acting. And then that goal shifted for me into writing, producing, and doing that sort of stuff. And so now I don't pursue acting at all. So it's okay if your goal shifts, but I was certain when I moved here that's what I was going to do, and then it shifted, so that's okay, you know. But yeah, like 1 to 3 years.
Is it? No. I got an idea for that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
So
that's what I was going to say. Is just be careful. Like don't try to do like 10 years out because we don't know what 10 years is going to look like. But like 1 to 3, I think that's really solid. Yeah.
So I think a little bit different. I think you can do
Great.
3 to 10, 3, 5, 10. I think you can do it. Here's what I hear you saying and what I would recommend in that situation. A lot of us, when we create these goals, we set them in cement, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We set them in cement.
This is what I mean. This is what I meant.
And we don't give ourselves permission to re-examine these goals and see if we even still want these goals.
Right.
So, or we're still going to that in that direction. So you got to create a part of the SMART goals that we're talking about, that a little bit of a milestone or a little bit of a, let's call it a check-in point. So if you set something for today, which we're talking about, you get off this call, you're like, DaJuan, I'm so inspired. How you doing? You know, you set that for today, for a year out, right? One of your check-in points, set it in your phone. Like, I'm looking for my phone. Set it in your phone. I was going to get to check-ins for today is July 15th, for October 15th, right? Set it in again for another 3 months for that. What those are, it's a way for you to check back in with your goal. And one, first and foremost, to see if you're still on track to achieving that goal, to see where you need to like course correct. We cannot course correct without action, people, right? So you've been taking action for these last 3 months. Now on October 15th, we get to course correct and see, okay, great. I've realized that I don't like producing. I tried it. I'm going to take this off the list. I'm going to redefine, re-examine my goals, and I'm going to keep going towards that yearly goal. That yearly goal, guys, it can't just be, I want to be a series regular. That's so boring. That is, you know what I mean? Like, what does that series, and here's what I was going to say. We get so sidetracked. I have it all written down here. We want to make sure that we are attaching with our vision, our why. Mm-hmm. If you do not have your why zone, I call it the why zone, like an end zone. If you do not have an attachment to your why zone, all of this stuff will be motivated by pain. It will be motivated by pain instead of being pulled by your vision, being pulled by your what do you call it? Your dream, your goals. It's the why. I don't want to be broke again, so I'm going to keep going towards this series regular. Somebody told me that I can't pursue my dream I can't be an actor, so that's pain. That's pushing you towards that goal. Yeah. But in a sense that I wake up every morning, right? And I think to myself, how can I accomplish my six-figure goal by working? Why do I want to do that? Because I believe that when people hear me, when they hear my message, when I'm on purpose, that they get inspired, that I get this message to somebody who's in Bangladesh and they say, DaJuan, your podcast has helped me know that I can do this. Great. Then I know I'm on message.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very curious for the couple people who are on here with us live right now. Would somebody be brave enough to type in like a quick goal that they think they want over the next year? Because I would really love to take somebody's actual goal example and do these steps with this goal example to give inspiration to everybody.
We're not going to get to all my notes.
I'm so sorry. But I mean, nobody might do this. But if you're somebody who's watching and you have a goal for the year,
yeah,
and it can be like a year from now, not like just 2020, but, you know, maybe into next year. Like, what does that look like for you? I would love for you to comment, and so that we can talk about it. We'll keep going, and then we'll loop back around to whatever you guys comment on. So let us know what your goal is. Mm-hmm. Or if you're having trouble figuring out your goal, because I think he has notes for that too. So keep going.
Yeah, I do. I also just want to say, like, all of this stuff that we're tangenting off to, I think is very important. But I want to make sure that you also have a clear path towards, you know, how do I wake up and even decide to start a goal? What is that thing? How do I do that? And even in quarantine, even before we get back to the green light that the studios are open, everything's going to be shooting just like Atlanta. I think, again, one, it needs to start with your mindset, but two, how does your day, what does your day look like? It looks like when you wake up in the morning, setting a morning routine. Do you know what I mean? That's going to be number one. Everybody needs to get a better morning routine if you don't already have one in place. There are studies out there that show that your first 2 to 3 hours in the morning when you wake up are your peak hours, right? So if you need to get up earlier, you need to do that. That's your morning routine. So then after we get that, in that time where you're setting your morning routine, that's when you can go after, like, either set a to-do list, if you will. You set a to-do list to figure out, this is what I want to get accomplished towards my goals. We're talking about visions. We're talking about goals. We're talking about mind dumps. This is what I want to do towards that. Please try to do that within the first 2 hours of the morning, because that's when you're the most productive in that time, right? So here's just what this will look like. Here's what this will look like. If you are going after an agent, if that's your goal, the green light go out of quarantine, go get an agent, right? Or all that good stuff. What that might look like, is that better? If I'm going to talk intangibles for you.
Yeah, do it. Love it. Love it.
What that might look like in the morning, if your goal is to get an agent that is insanely awesome, cares about me, that understands my career, that I feel like I can communicate with, that answers my emails, that takes my calls. You know how you guys do. All that stuff, right? That's your job. So in that morning, in the very beginning part of that, you want to make sure that you are moving the needle, right? You are moving the needle towards that goal, right? Just that one goal. That could be, I mean, we can give you stuff. I think you should go out there, and whether that is finding where these people are hanging out right now. Everybody is on social media right now.
Yeah.
So if it's Melissa Talent, you go to their website, you know what I mean? Break down that thing. Oh, Melissa's, this is her social media name. I got to find her, or whatever her name is. Find her on social media, and then we're going to go through all that stuff. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like that's how we would break that down and go after your goals. I think you should go after them in the morning, right? First thing, whether you're a morning person or not. The next part of that is, I have here, don't hit your goals on a booking. I was like, what was I thinking there? Go ahead.
What do you mean by that?
I think what happens is, what we do is we hitch our goals on just the booking, right?
Okay, this is perfect, because Natalie was so brave. Thank you, Natalie, for commenting. She says, one of my goals, book a guest star on one of my favorite single cam comedies. So this is what you're talking about, right? Like, that's a goal that is attached to a one-time thing.
Yeah, but it's also like a I don't
not
know.
that that's a bad goal, by the way.
No, not at all.
I think that's a great goal.
Not at all. We don't want to say that.
Right.
I don't want to say that, but I think the concern with booking and hitching your goals on booking is it's more of a vision for your life, right?
Okay.
And there's a difference between a goal and a vision. That's why I started with like, what is your vision for that? Your goal is something that you can have a SMART goal where you have measurement. It's measurable, it's attainable, and it's time based, right? Where we can do that. We can create an environment to thrive in for that booking. But sometimes, and I think all of you can understand this, that booking has nothing to do with you all the time. You know what I mean? Like, meaning it could be somebody's baby cousin, mama, sister's dad that gets that part, and you are the best actor in the room. So hitching your goal on a booking 9 times out of 10 leaves you feeling less than. And if we're gonna get honest with each other, every time you set like a 3-month or a year goal to book something and you don't get it, you lose a little bit of faith in that goal. You lose a little bit of hope in that goal. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of the goal, which is attainable, which is realistic, which is we're creating this environment to thrive in, right? That's the goal. I've done everything in my power to thrive in that. So what that might look like is I got an agent set up. That's how I can do that part. I'm taking self-taping classes. My acting's on point. Every single thing in my absolute yes package, which is everything designed me for yes, your resume, your headshot, your reel, is all together. I am out there networking and meeting people. I have done that. We can measure that success there. So I am putting myself in the right place for the booking, but we cannot control the booking. And so many of my actors out there, they're out there like, they're out there worried about just that booking. And what they do, and I'll be done, is you also hitch your self-worth on a booking. You tie your self-worth on that booking, right? Yeah. And and all it does is it erodes your whole career, I think. Okay, Melissa, jump in there.
I just wanted to say, you really inspired me. I think I have a very fun catchphrase for you to use.
Okay.
Don't make a goal attached to something you can't control.
Great.
It rhymes.
Good.
That's how you can remember it.
Great.
Okay, so Natalie asked, she says, how do we redirect that goal? I feel like you just talked about that, but let's break it down just even a little bit more so that we can give maybe a different example. So let's say that an actor's goal is to secure a new agent.
Great.
Would you say that is something, it's like they can't control necessarily who is going to say yes or no to that, right? So if we don't want to attach that goal to something, like that is an important thing to want and to need, but since it's not something that you can like actually control, you can't force somebody to say yes or no to you, what would be a better way to maybe state that or to think about it?
Well, I go back to the why zone, right? Like, what does this mean to you? Why do you want to do that? I want to do that so that I can achieve my goal of making comedies that make people laugh, right? Or making material, making stuff that makes people laugh. And I think what happens is when we put it out of the things that we can't control and we keep it in the things of like the why zone, what it does is it automatically opens it up to other ways of achieving this, right? It opens it up to automatic. As soon as I said that, to be completely honest, I was like, when you think about a comedy, I want to help make other people laugh so that these people can see that. I was thinking to myself, well, why can't you go do that right now? Why do you need these people?
That's a whole other thing. That's like a whole tangent I could go down. Absolutely. That's so good. So in your experience,
is that helpful?
then,
is that helpful?
Yeah.
You know?
So for in your experience working with all the people that you coach, I'm guessing that the people who have the strongest why, like they've figured out what their why and their purpose is, and then hook their vision to that, those people probably have more success achieving their goals for a couple of reasons. It sounds like when your why is strong enough and really speaks to your soul and is who you are, you show up differently. Your energy is different. The energy you're putting out into the world is different. And you are more open to doing it in different ways that might not be like the way that Hollywood has told you or the industry has told you it's going to happen.
Yes.
But the why and the vision have to be strong enough. Like, I'm literally sitting here, DaJuan, because I knew today was going to be really good. And I was like, I'm so excited to learn from him. I'm sitting here going, I know personally, like, genius is. My zone of genius is giving people permission before they can give it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I'm really good at.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going, cool, that's what I'm really good at. But how does that connect to the why? Do I want to do that for everybody? Am I doing that for just a specific? Like, so I'm literally sitting here going and evaluating what my why and vision is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not just everybody who's watching, by the way. It's me too.
I think it's just a stronger thing to hitch to, right?
Yeah.
It's a stronger thing to think about. Like, when I get on this call with you, it's I do want to make sure that everybody who's on here is getting something from it. But I also get on this call and I have to just remember, or this live, and I have to, if I get to touch one person, if I get one person to think, but that's my mission, right? My mission isn't for everybody on this thing. Some people might be like, cool, I got this, DaJuan, I understand that, right? But there's like that one person, and that takes me back to why I started Think Bigger Coaching. That takes me back to my why zone of like, that's stronger than my other things of like, I want everybody to like me, right?
Or I want to make a bunch of money.
Or I want to make a bunch of money. But it's like, if I can really, really, really send the elevator back down to other actors so that they can achieve their dreams, so that they can inspire and do more stuff with other people, then I feel like I'm in a sweet zone. I'm in a pocket, right? Yeah. That's what I'm in. So that's why I say go back to your why zone. I want to just add a couple things real quick. I don't want this stuff to be very ethereal. I don't want this stuff to be very like, oh, like this is woo-woo in your head. So please make sure that like when you like are coming up with these visions or coming up with these goals, that you are writing them down. When we write stuff down, you lock it down in a whole different way.
Physically write it down. Don't just type it out. Like, you can type it out later, but I agree with you, DaJuan. I absolutely have found there is a difference for me. Yes. I literally, and sometimes I'll write shit down and then forget that I wrote it down. And then like 6 months later, something will happen and I'll be like, oh my God, that's something I wrote down. Yeah.
And it, because I'm trying to be with the cool kids, and I think the millennials and all that stuff, if they want to type it or, you know, because I think, well, for me, I know, right?
We're old. Anyway.
We're old. What I mean by that though is, I think when you hear this is what I mean by this. When you get things out of your head that are swirling around in the head here, things seem bigger in your head. Things seem undoable, right? In your head. To get it out, to lock it down on paper and see all of your goals, see all of your whole vision written out, it locks it in just a little bit different. Like, I can do this. I can do it that way. So that's one of the things that I mean by that. And I think the other big thing I have down here is, listen, when we start writing our goals and you really just want to like write them down, I think everybody should just freeform for a second. Really just write down. I know we're going to get into like the realistic stuff. Like, is this realistic? I want to have 3 series regulars by the end of the in December. You're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not going to say it can't happen, but like, but there's nothing shooting. So, you know, I'm not going to say it can happen, but I do think that we do have to like, just, you know, in the realistic world. But here's what I want to say more than anything. Everybody needs to stop waiting till they feel like doing these fucking things. Do
it. Okay, so this is absolutely something that I work on with my coach, Lori. And I didn't really realize I had this big of a problem until recently, where I was like, you know, I often let my emotions drive the bus.
Nope.
And so personally, I will just be real open with you guys. I am developing the habit of doing it regardless of how I feel. Now, that doesn't mean pushing through when I actually do need rest or something like that. I'm talking about when I just feel bratty and I'm like, I don't really want to do this right now. Do it anyway, because you're never going to feel like it. It's never going to always feel exciting. You have to set up discipline And discipline to a lot of people sounds like a very dirty word, and it's very scary, and we don't like it because it feels constricting. But if you can realize that the discipline that you can cultivate will help you achieve things faster because your emotions won't drive the bus anymore. Right? Would you agree or no?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I can't tell your face. You're like,
well, I'm listening intently. You know, I'm not waiting for my turn to speak. I'm just listening to you. I think the way I would do it, I read a lot of mindset books, and one of the things that like Mel Robbins or Sylvester, I can't remember his last name, Talk Schmutt, talks about is that in the moment, rarely are our feelings in alignment with our goals or our dreams. Your feelings in the moment will always lie to you, right? So yeah. For example, when I'm like, God, I want to do this yoga at home, right? I'm waiting till I feel good. I'm waiting till I feel like I need to, I got to get into this Zen place to do yoga. I'm never going to feel that way. You got to push yourself to do that, right? You got to get out of bed and push yourself, those things. So I think we went off the rails was thinking that we must feel motivated to do something. No, action creates clarity, not clarity creates action. Action creates clarity. And so when we're talking about these goals, when we're talking about these visions, when we're talking about that stuff, write this stuff down and then start taking action. That is probably like the number one thing that I probably do that most people do not do. My secret to a lot of the success is I take more action than you do.
Say that again.
I take more action than you do.
Okay, and I want to point out that he is not saying this. It's absolutely fair. And I think a lot of people's reaction when you say that is going to be embarrassment and shame.
Oh, no.
No. Not that you were trying to do that, but, when we think of high achievers, that sort of thing, and we see what is possible, because we all have the same 24-hour day.
We don't.
Right? Well, what I'm saying is we all have 24 hours allotted to us, and some people make more of that than others. And if we feel guilty for not doing the amount of work we know we're capable of, hearing somebody go, I take more action than you, can make somebody feel shameful. Mm-hmm. By the way, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. Don't sit in it. Know that everything that he's talking about can be achievable for you.
I also want to just talk about that as a mindset coach real quick. I just want to say that that is absolutely okay for that to be your first default setting, your first default emotion, right? You are not responsible for your first thought. That might be some old programming that comes along, but you are responsible for your second, third, and fourth thought. So if your first thought is about shame, and you're like, you get to say, okay, cool. Here is that. I feel that. What would I like to do with that? Right? That's where you got to go next. It was what would I really like to, how would I like to have a plan of action that moves me forward? Here, and I say that from experience where I kind of in DaJuan's world, I love Beyonce. I'm just going to say it so that we aren't upset. But I dislike, my friend brought me a mug that she gave me a mug that says, you have the same 24 days and hours in your Beyonce, whatever that saying is. Mm-hmm. Beyonce has a team of people to make her amazing. Yeah. So we cannot compare my 24 hours with somebody else's 24 hours. What we can do is we can compare what would I like to get done and how do I go about getting that done? Remember, your feelings are not facts and they will lie to you. So if you are instantly in the moment feeling shame, that is something that is not in alignment with your goals. Like I just said, that is not in alignment with your vision. So don't make Melissa extraordinary at all. Don't make us high achievers at all, because that lets you off the hook. I'm not here to let you off the hook. You didn't ask me back to let you off the hook, right? So if you're feeling shame, feel what you're feeling, but also understand that there is greatness on the other side of that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did I take it there?
No, you took it there. I'm glad you took it there. That's amazing. Okay, do you have more notes to get through? Because I got stuff I want to talk about. I want to loop back. Okay,
go.
So I think one thing that can prove hard when you're starting to look at the larger vision and start to put together the plan. You mentioned that you're the third step. So the first thing, just to loop back for people who are joining us, who didn't hear the very first things he said, His top 3 tips were do a D20, which is set a 20-minute timer and do a mind dump. And then take that mind dump and make them into SMART goals. So that's step number 2. And then step number 3 is find an accountability partner. Finding that accountability partner, I think, can be hard for some people. Or a coach. Yeah. But I think that can be a challenge for some people. What would be some tips for... Okay, here's a great question. What is your tip for somebody to know, do I just need an accountability partner or should I get a coach? These are very different things.
Yeah,
you know?
I think anything that I have achieved that's been really great, I should say, has been from a therapist, like examining some stuff, or from like a coach that has helped me really spotlight and to move forward on. I think if you're saying to yourself some things like this, let me see if I trigger anything for anybody. If you're saying to yourself, everybody doesn't like uphold their end of the bargain. I just don't like working with people that way. I just need somebody who can just like, I can drop in on and they can give me stuff and I can go on. That might be meaning that you need a coach. Does that make sense? Instead of let me work inside of an accountability group or an accountability, you know what I mean? Like I need somebody who's a few steps ahead of me to help me shed a light on some things so I can move forward, That might be like that you need a coach. Okay, that answered it. Sorry. I was going to go down a whole nother road.
No, do it. We have time.
So with accountability partners, like the thing is, we need to open ourselves up to, taking criticism, taking critique, constructive critique from somebody who is right there with us, right? Who might be seen as on the same plane, or maybe a step up or a step down. That person is just there to help you bounce ideas off and keep you accountable, because we will pay our Visa, we will pay our AT&T bill, we will pay every other bill on our docket, right, before we pay ourselves. That same thing applies, that if we know somebody else is waiting for us, if we know we've told our goals to somebody else, then we're going to be accountable to them. So that's what I mean by getting somebody else that's out there. And I just want to say, good Lord, everybody, remember, you can break up with an accountability partner. You can try some people out. Everybody's like, no, I already tried one and that didn't work for me. Oh, okay. Well, is that how it happens with the spouse? Some people that has happened. Some people that have, but we get to try out a little bit.
Yeah. Is there anything that you can think of that people should be? I kind of feel like if it were me and I was on the hunt for an accountability partner who I was not paying, right? Like he was just a friend or whatever, I would want to know what kind of advice or kind of work relationship I would want with them. I'd want to know like my communication style and their communication style, so that there's no, you want to just make sure that you're a good match across the board, and what it is that you want from them and what they need from you. Because it's not just like a one-way street. Accountability partner means that you're also theirs, right?
And you don't want to feel like you're babysitting. You don't want to feel like you're babysitting. Is that what you're saying? Like, yeah. Yeah,
that, and also just, if somebody has tried an accountability partner and it didn't work out because of XYZ, well, now that's just data. That doesn't mean that you failed. It's just data that says, oh, it didn't work out because of this. So the next person I'm going to try, let's have them have these qualities and see if it works better.
So what I hear you saying, and for everybody out there, is basically set boundaries, right? You get to start with, this is what I want. I think also the accountability time that you're spending with somebody needs to be very focused time. This isn't that we get on here and chit chat. We can get on here and we set 20-minute timer. You go for 20 minutes, I go for 20 minutes. Or you go for 10 minutes, I go for 10 minutes. And if we want to stay on after that time block and we want to catch up, then we can. But right now, this is my time to check in and move this goal forward. It has to be a structured time that you have with this person, instead of, hey girl, yeah, I did it. Hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey.
And like
That's so good.
Jon Snow says they're maybe write up an agreement before you start. You know, I think yes, maybe always something tangible is great, and that could be an email. Everybody's like, I don't want to write, but it's just so that we have clarity on what we are doing. It's so that you understand that this time is sacred, right? And that's what it is. I am here just to check in about this. And if it ever falls off, or if we feel like we're not upholding our end of the bargain, we'll separate, and there'll be no hard feelings.
Yeah, it's not like your friendship would be over or anything. It's just like it just didn't work out. One of the things that you said earlier that I think really ties all of this together is that what you're doing with this vision, like vision making, figuring out your why, figuring out the goals, making them smart, having an accountability partner, is that you said basically what it's doing is creating an environment that goals can thrive in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I really sit down, I'm good at this in some ways and good at it in bad ways. And I would ask the people who are watching and listening to this later, have you created for yourself an environment that makes achieving your goals easy and inevitable?
Yeah.
Because if you haven't, the good news is you can. This is not like, you know, this isn't like doom and gloom. We are here to help you actually achieve this, right? And like these steps, I feel like are the first steps in the overall thing. And for some people who have never done this process before or really done it in a deep, deep level, what the process is not only going to get you these things to be going after, but I think it's also going to teach you the skill of how to do this so that when you achieve that goal, when you get that, you know, guest star on your favorite TV show, cool. What's the next goal? Cool. And now I know I have a framework to lean on to start working towards that next thing. Yeah. So it's like a double skill that you're learning, right?
Yeah. I just want to add, you know, I know before we get out of here and just make sure I say this, that the reason I'm so passionate about goals, the reason I'm so passionate about not giving you first, like just the skeleton of it all, but coming back and really deep diving into the mindset, coming back and really deep diving into here's why you need a vision and a morning routine and not to feel and all that is because, guys, I was so hell-bent on getting this series. And I remember that when I booked Bosch and I had already done 6 out of 10 episodes in that first season, at the end of that season, I did not feel complete. It did not feel like I got it. I got what every actor wanted. We're on the series. You know what I mean? We did it. You know what I mean? People are loving it. And it did not feel like I did not feel whole. And I didn't feel that way because there was more. There was a bigger purpose. There was a bigger message. And so I went out and sought that. So my why became bigger. So that, yeah, I book like things that are like, we're doing Emmy campaigns on. I do stuff where they fly me to Mexico I get all that stuff, but that's still within my bigger vision. It's still within my bigger purpose. And so it isn't just hitched on when I didn't book a big show that I was the studio's choice on, right? Right, great. It's just another cog in my wheel to get me to another conduit to that vision. That's why I'm going back to, you must have a vision, know your why, know your purpose, so that all of this is like, gosh, you're going to feel disappointment. It's going to suck when you don't get something. It's going to suck when that agent tells you no. It's going to suck when that manager, drops you. When that manager drops you. But you know this is all in pursuit of that bigger dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's a lot.
No, that's great. I'm curious what your morning routine is.
Yeah, great. I'm so glad you asked. Thank you, Melissa. I'm so glad you asked. You know, at the end of I want to start with saying this to everybody, that I said this in my my self-taping class the other day, where people were like, I was telling them what items to get for self-taping, and I was like, do not be afraid to adjust this that works for you. Right. And do not be afraid to send stuff back to Amazon. Right? If this doesn't,
they're gonna be all right.
if I get this ring light and it doesn't work for me, try the other thing try the other thing. So when I wake up in the morning, it is paramount to me, like I was talking about for the couple hours that we get up, that I understand. I've always understood that the morning hours are my peak hours. Figure out when your peak hours are. Mine are the morning. So what I do is I get up, and I have 5 books over there right now, and I come into my office, which you're in right now, and I read out of one of the 5 books. You know what I mean? And what I'm doing here is I am feeding my mind. I am feeding my soul. I am feeding my day. I'm setting that up, right? So then after that is when I come to the desk and I do my D20 and I figure out, like, what do I need to do for today? The reason I do the books first and me first is because everything else is about everybody else's day.
Especially because you're a dad and you have 2 kids and the whole thing. Yeah.
So it's important. People are like, well, what do? I come read before I feed my kids. Because
you probably get up before them too, right?
Not anymore, those little not anymore, because just because of the quarantine. And they also, when I was getting up in the morning, so if anybody's ever followed me, they know that I do yoga. I used to do yoga at 5 in the morning. Right? I used to get up at 5 in the morning and come back and get my kids ready for school and then start my day, because that's the way I wanted to make sure that I could set my day up right. Now we're in quarantine, all things are out the window. So I just got to make sure that I read in the morning, and then I get into my inbox. I try my hardest not to get into my social media, not to get in my inbox or anything like that first thing in the morning. Don't do it. It'll torpedo and hijack your entire day. I didn't get into my inbox for my business until almost 11:50 today.
Yeah. Well, not only will it just take over your day, but it takes the bandwidth. Excuse me, spittle. It takes the bandwidth of what could be creative thought away from that into very practical, like responding, and you don't want that to happen.
No.
Excuse me.
Are you dying? Are you okay?
I'm all right.
All right.
So you get up, you read, you do your like brain dump and figuring out kind of like what you want to accomplish for the day. By the way, just to put it out there, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this.
I'm listening.
I'm sure you probably know Brooke Castillo. She has a big podcast thing. She's the Life Coach School podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, she has this thing's called, she doesn't do a to-do list. She does a to-done list.
I do a to-done list.
Yeah, to-done list. I started doing that, and it's incredible. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, instead of writing your list as stuff you need to do, you write it in like past tense, like you already did it.
Yeah.
And it shifts how you think about actually doing the work of the things that are on the list. It's amazing. For example, I'll read to you some to-done lists for me. These were like goals for the year for Rocky Reel. And it says, we have doubled or tripled business. We're getting there. We have multiple teams. We're getting there. We sell courses, and we now do. So it was like writing things in the past tense is really powerful. You guys should try that. We have 3 minutes left. So is there anything else in your morning routine that you're like, this is really helpful for me?
I can't speak enough about just like setting your intention to like take care of your own personal mindset first. I'm going to do a quick one of the 5 books I went and grabbed. I'm reading The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I have over there Bold New You by Justin Patton. I also, because I have a goal of directing more directors tell the story, which is fantastic. Care Package, which also helps me just take care of my mind. A Path to Deep Healing. And I also do Touchstones, which is a book on, it's a book on AA, but I'm not an AA. And
the principles are great. The principles are great. Yeah.
And so I do that because I have 5 books, because sometimes we get, we get bored of a book and then we just like stop the routine. So I have 5 books going at the same time, so I can just pick up anything and I can just be like, feed my soul this different way. Awesome. And to make that.
Have you ever read The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp?
No, I haven't. No.
Ooh, it's an older book, but it's so good. I'll send you a copy. Yeah. That's awesome. So once then your day starts, like, so you set an intention, you read a book, you feed your mind, you do your goals, and then you get to the rest of your day.
And yeah, there's some stuff that you have to eat the frog with. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
say eat the frog with, and some things I don't like. I got to get into my inbox, and I got to like do refunds, or I got to like do all that stuff, and that's okay for business wise. Or I get to, like, that's what I have to do, but I get to work on my pitch pack. I get to think about other stuff other goals that I'm going to achieve that aren't contingent on what other people helping me achieve it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so as we wrap up, because I can't believe it hasn't given me my little timer out, and so we might get cut off in the middle of the sentence, but if people want to find you or work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Anywhere Think Bigger Coaching, thinkbiggercoaching.com, Think Bigger Coaching here, and on Facebook, Think Bigger Coaching, and or I have a big Think Bigger Tribe Facebook group with over 2,000 people in there, actors, creatives, and we do